This episode of The Young Turks is brought to you by GoDaddy.com. Use the promo code TYT1 and get 10% off your order.
If the Wisconsin law wasn't bad enough, Ohio Governor John Kasich yesterday signed into law a limit on the collective bargaining rights of his 350,000 public workers, again defying Democrats that didn't leave the state and other opponents who said it would, and they're going to push for a repeal. His signature comes a day after the House and Senate there in Ohio, both controlled by Republicans, voted for the measure. And after the big debate that we had in Wisconsin. But in fact, in many ways, the Ohio law, Kasich's law, is tougher than the Wisconsin law. 350,000 public workers covered under the law. They can still negotiate wages and certain work conditions, which was also true to some extent in Wisconsin, although the only wage increase that they could get that was, if it was ever above the cost of living allowance, they'd have to get it passed in a referendum, which would never happen. You imagine people in Wisconsin voting for a raise for public employees? Like that would ever happen anywhere. So essentially there was no reason for the union. The bill had the effect of making a union pointless, which was the goal, which we'll get to in a minute. So here in Ohio, though, they could continue to bargain for wages and certain work conditions, but not health care, not sick time, not pension benefits. Again, you were making it irrelevant to have a union. Measure also does away with automatic pay raises, bases future wage increases on merit. Applies to teachers, nurses, many other government workers, and in Ohio, I'll give John Kasich credit. At least he stuck to his principles, because there's no exemption in Ohio for firefighters or policemen, and there shouldn't be an exemption for firefighters or policemen. We all like to sort of wrap ourselves up and say these guys are first responders and they're heroes, and I agree, they are. It's an incredibly, they're jobs that I don't fully understand, how a building can be on fire and you run into the building. And policemen, it's an incredibly brave job, and finding the guys who can do it well is of utmost importance to us. But if the principle is that if you're a public employee, you shouldn't be able to unionize, that's a principle that Scott Walker was talking about in Wisconsin, and that John Kasich is talking about in Ohio, and that Republican governors all around the country are talking about. Well, if it's a principle, then how do you exempt firefighters and policemen? I mean, they're public workers too. They get to unionize. They get to worry about their pensions, but teachers don't. No, man, this is pure ugly politics, because we're talking about something serious and then they're misrepresenting the principle. Hey man, you don't want to be able to unionize in a public workforce. Firefighters, you can't do it, neither can cops. You're not any different than teachers. You don't get special dispensation in that regard. You should get paid differently. You should get paid. Cops should be forced to go to college and paid a lot more money. A lot more money. But then we got to be serious about who we have. So I like the Ohio law just for that. Otherwise, it's a horrible union-busting law. There is some honesty that we're getting in Wisconsin about what that law is. It has nothing to do with the budget. We have proven that beyond any ability to doubt it. The Wisconsin law has nothing to do with the budget. 0% to do with the budget. There are 150 other things that would have taken precedence if you were just concerned about the budget, especially with the 8% cut that those public workers were prepared to take on their own. So they lied about that, and now at least they're coming around and recognizing that, yeah, you know what, this is just politics. We just want a union bust, because then Democrats can't raise money through the unions and we can win elections. We can continue to take our corporate money. They won't get any labor money. We already have a huge advantage in that regard, because corporate power crushes labor power to begin with, but it was some sliver of money that was reliable for Democrats. We take that away, we win every election. That's what this is about, nothing else. That's it. Everybody should know that by now.
Cenk, if you want to buy a domain name, you want to know the best website to go to?
I already know it, GoDaddy.com.
First of all, they have 24/7 customer service.
If you want to download GoDaddy's free iPhone, Android, or BlackBerry app, boom, on your phone instantly. And if you go to theyoungturks.com/GoDaddy, you get all of our promo codes, like TYT1 gets you 10% off of all your orders.
TYT3 gets you a .com domain for only $7.99.
You can't beat that.